A noir without a chase scene is like a western without a duel scene. Sure, you could do it, but what's the point? A professor once told me this while I was in university. Actually, I lied. A professor never told me that. But imagine if they did. They'd maybe kind of be onto something? Maybe. Hi, I'm MHJ Makes, and today I'm going to be talking about why I hate writing chase scenes. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm working on an online screenplay series titled The Nobunaga Universe. Links in description. It's a neo-noir set in an alternate history diesel punk 1950s Japan. I'm just going to say the bottom line up front. I don't like writing them because they're hard. Why? Because the problem is that when writing a chase scene, especially if it's involving an organized group like, say, the police, if we were to assume that all characters are at least semi-competent at what they're doing, 9 times out of 10, the chasee will get out-chased by the chaser. Just look at real life, for example. Whenever there's a high-profile chase involving the police, you've got multiple police cars, helicopters, newscopters, and other things going on. How often does the person manage to run away? I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen, but I'm willing to bet that it's more on the rare side. And when it does happen, it's probably because the person managed to make the slip before the chase even actually started. Because once they've set their eyes on you, you're kinda screwed. Admittedly, it's a lot easier to get away with this in a historical setting. Because with less advanced technology, it's a lot more believable to imagine someone feasibly running away. But I'm using a diesel punk setting. So while the technology can at some points be more primitive than what we have today, in others, it can actually be more advanced. So I found from my experience writing this series that generally, the only way that I can get characters to realistically get away is by having something absolutely insane happening. Like what happened at the end of the latest chapter. And for those of you that have read it, I know some of you are thinking, but wait, couldn't the police, or maybe, okay, one will just have up. I know what you're thinking, and that'll be addressed in the next chapter. Don't worry. Everything has a reason. And when they don't, I'm usually good at coming up with a reason in retrospect. Anyway, chase scenes are hard, and they usually come in 2 categories. 1, the one where the MC is super smart, and everyone chasing them is an absolute moron. Take Baby Princess Leia from Disney's Obi-Wan series as an example, although that didn't exactly end with her successfully running away, but yeah, whatever. And then number 2, as I briefly touched on a couple seconds ago, the one where everyone is competent and the writer has effectively written themselves into a hole, so they make the characters do something crazy in order to get away. Take the cliff scene for Red Dead Redemption 2. You know, the one that was freaking awesome. I tend to go with the latter because I don't typically like writing stupid characters. I mean, not every character that I write is super smart per se, but I don't like having whole institutions acting as if they're run by morons. We get enough of that in real life, so I have to rely on number 2. The problem with this is that as the stakes get bigger, the characters will have to do crazier and crazier things because that's just how stories work. But also because if we're to assume that our adversaries are at least semi-competent at what they're doing and capable of learning from their mistakes, they'll do what they can to make sure that our characters don't get away with doing the same thing twice. And if you don't put a cap on it, you'll run the risk of making your story a little convoluted, to put it mildly. At best, it just takes away the tension away from the chase scenes, which is the worst thing you can do for a chase scene, by the way. And it'll do that because the audience will know that no matter what happens, Awesome McGee the MC will pull some random thing out of their butt that'll make everything magically okay. So they just tune out. And at worst, people will stop reading your stuff because they'll think it's stupid. Or actually even worse, they continue to read it because it's stupid, and then you become a meme. Now you can fix this by actually letting your characters get captured, which I might let happen one day, but you have to do that sparingly. If they get captured too much, you'll run the risk of making your MC come across as incompetent. Or, again, you'll take away the tension from the chase scene, because the audience will know that even if the MC gets captured, the worst outcome of a chase scene, by the way, they'll magically make it out in one piece. Somehow. Also, it makes your villains look bad because they keep failing to keep the MC where they want them, so the audience will probably take them less seriously too. I guess in my case, I could circumvent this by making everyone that isn't the MC stupid, but what's the fun in that? It makes things less realistic first of all, but also, this is like a mental exercise for myself. Because in a way, as the writer, I'm trying to outsmart myself by writing scenes like this. But if that's such a problem, why do you keep doing it, you might ask? To which I'd reply, did you completely miss the quote that I said at the beginning of the video? Chase scenes are so cool, like amazing stuff. They're the training scenes in a fighting movie like Rocky. They're the speech before the big game in a sports movie. They're the duels in the samurai in westerns. They're the confession scenes in romances. You eat that stuff up, I eat that stuff up, we all do, because they're good. This video is mostly just an excuse to vent about how difficult they are to write more than anything. When I first started writing Nobunaga, back when I was writing that one random chapter in the Alpha universe, I looked at the 2006 teaser trailer for LA Noire as reference. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's good stuff. A chase scene done right can really make a film. And unfortunately, I chose a genre that uses them a lot. That's kind of a me problem, but there's worse problems to have. And honestly, this isn't a problem that's unique to chase scenes. All scenes in general are difficult to do well, to some degree. Sure, we all have our strengths. I'd like to imagine that mine is dialogue, but I don't know. But to come together and write a complete cohesive narrative, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. Like, very dirty. Like, don't even bother choosing a creative narrative unless you're a masochist. So anyway, I guess if I had to come together and come up with a point for this video, there really isn't one by the way, but if I had to choose, I'd say maybe it's about not being afraid to take on the things that you find difficult? Sure. I'm mostly speaking from the perspective of a writer, but in a way, this can apply to anything. As creatives, we all have a perfect vision of how our stories are supposed to be. For example, the Nobunaga in my head has basically the unique style of Lupin III, the groundbreaking television of The Sopranos and The Wire, the beautiful melancholy of Silent Hill, and just a touch of Batman the Animated Series. It shouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that in no way could something like that ever exist in reality. The Nobunaga that I write is imperfect. Even if I do create something groundbreaking, it'll never be as good as the thing in my head, and that's okay. And it's okay if whatever you're working on, whether it be a story like mine, or a project for work or school, or that one extra room in your house that you always wanted to turn into something unique but never got around to, it's okay if it isn't as perfect as what you have in your head, because it never will be. But I can guarantee one thing, whatever you create, no matter the quality, it will always be better than nothing. Because you can learn from something. You'll never learn from nothing. You've probably heard something along those lines a million times, and you've heard it a lot because it's true. It's up to you whether or not you choose to live in that wisdom. But anyway, preachy soapbox aside, I'm going to continue to write chase scenes, and I'm going to regret all my life choices as I do so, but I wouldn't have it any other way, and I hope that you'll find something like that for yourself too, if you haven't already. Because that's the beauty of life, you know? Well, I guess that's where we part ways today. I hope my ramblings at least made some sense. If they did, or if they didn't, I'd be curious to hear what you think. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Until next time, everyone. See ya!